Go over this some weird stuff. We'll like okay, I'll say this at the end of the day, we like in my world I care about starts and finishes, right? Finishes specifically with the dollar index because that determines a start, but mainly besides that I care where candles start, not where they end. So let's just go over where we left off. We talked about here opening a position. I trade Mara, so it is what it is. But regardless, this is the importance why I always try to go over this. So we talk about opening a position here. We get the big sell down. We get a switch over. We can either exit our position here or wait as it comes up to exit our position for an exchange fee, right? This is why I always talk about these being good levels. Generally, they sit at these areas, right, and they come back to them. We're going to look at the dollar in a second. I still think the dollar is the biggest determinant of most of this. I'm not a big fan of necessarily everything getting bought up. If the dollar does end, which means it'll start in a certain place. So, but I just wanted to show this, right? We see our entry position. Technically, we also could have gotten out at 44 when it came back close. So someone was looking at that time. But, right, we're looking for the end under and then to get out. And then if we're little ballsy about it, because it doesn't always come back up, right? Just like things start above, they don't always like slightly above, they don't always necessarily come back down. So this is nice. I just wanted to show this. This is pretty standard though. It's nothing really out of the normal. Anyway, so Mara, stop. Why do you guys keep doing this? Michael Jackson thing, just stop. No, is it? Stop it. Just stop. Anyway, so let's get to the most important thing. I guess technically with we show Bitcoin. I mean, like I said, it's a sell, get out, and we'll see what happens up top. Arguably, I don't think any of this stuff is good anymore. I do believe that we're going to see a. I'll get over this and then I'll go back to the dollar. But I do believe we're going to see something like this, essentially. And if we look back to here, it's essentially coming down to these daytime averages, and then ranging pretty much more or less. And then this is like the week time frame. We range, boom, boom, and just keeps pushing up. So that's what I still expect to happen. That's what I think is most likely here, in my opinion. We'll see what happens. For me, for Mara, like I said before, I'm sticking to my guns. I don't care. We've never seen this before. Like, right? Look at this. Like with my strategy, it's on a lot of different things, not just Mara, but in the past, we start above or end above, start under, right? Boom, boom, boom. Start above, come back down. Boom. Beautiful, right? Start pretty far above, come back down for a bounce, push up, fail, right? Start above, boom, right? Start under, push down, right? So it's, well, I guess technically we try to push back up here. This is a little bit sketchy. I mean, I would just, I wouldn't have been in here, but like if I, for some reason, I don't know why on this come down, let's say for some random reason, because this is January 22nd is when rates were shooting up, or we could see rates are shooting up, and I'll show that in a split second. Or they were about to. I'll show that in a second. But yeah, this is definitely like get out. I don't care that it pushes back up. So let's show the dollar index real quick and what I don't like. So we hit the spot, right? So it was like 1, 2, right, in the range, above the range, in the range, possibly above the range. But there's the issue I kept talking about is that the whole point of coming into this range is essentially just to test, and they've already tested here. So we'll see. Whoops. So we'll see where this ends slash starts because, right, just with the dollar. Um, so I think it has a decent chance. It's just like we can just see right here. They push it up to the target and it just gets pushed right back down, of course, because it hit the target. The bots trading and all the other stuff, they don't care. It hit like there's nothing you can, in my opinion, there's nothing you can do when you're trading. If it hits a target, you have zero option of doing anything besides what you came there to do. If it to me, it doesn't matter. Um, like let's say your target's 10% up. If it shoots 10% up, you sell, right? You do what you plan to do. If it keeps going up, well, it keeps going up. Who cares? Because you had a plan in mind of what you're going to do, and don't deviate from the plan. So from that same sense, we'll see where this ends. I think it's a lot less likely, but it does just have to come back up to right about 103.9, pretty much 102.9. 102.4 is just easier to say. 102.39, I'm sorry. Excuse me. So there's still definitely a chance it could do that. We'll have to see. It looks a lot less likely. I didn't think the dollar was really going to hit a 2 anyway up here like this. I more or less imagine that we'd come up into here, hit here, and then reverse, and then we'd head back down. So there's a lot less likely of a chance we'll see a reversal. This isn't really a reversal. Like we hit up here. Like the issue with this is if we don't actually start here, we could technically still start here and come back into this range and start the week after in that range. So there is still that upwards potential on this, that while it looks sketchy, there are still base points here, right? Or if we can hold here, right, we can just see a higher low. And if this can hold, right, we can still see a possible upwards trend. I mean, this is a lot of selling. It makes sense because the target was hit. It's a lot of selling. So anyway, let me talk about that January 22nd thing, and we'll show that real quick. So if we just look at some of like, I mean, we could look at a lot of them, but I know the 2 year off the top of my head. I think we could see it on the month time frame. No, it wasn't this. I mean, we could see like a breakthrough. I don't really care though. On the week time frame, I believe. Yeah. So on the week time frame, right? It's hard to see, right? We start above January 22nd or the 24th of January 2022. Right. And then I think we could see this on like the 5 year and some of the other ones too. I don't remember all of them. Yeah. See the same thing. We start above here 1 week before, come down a little bit, boom. And I think in the 5 year, we'll also see it also as well, but a week before that. Right. So we can just see, we can just see it pressing up on a lot of these. So it's not really too surprising. And I suppose at the same time, we can see also, I think the dollar had something. Was it on the month time frame? I mean, we could see it back here, but no, it was October, November. I mean, it looked good on the dollar too. So I mean, it kind of is what it is. Here we go. Right. So we can see right here, start above. Oh, I circled this from before. Anyway, we can see here that we start above, right, and then we come back down. Boom, boom. January 10th. Do. So we can kind of see that. I don't remember what the specific thing I was talking about before, but that's why we could we whatever I was looking at. I don't remember what I was looking at. It doesn't really matter. But that's why there was a little bit of hesitation or whatever. I don't know. I don't really care what I was looking at, but anyone that could go back and you'll be able to see. So I'm not really a big fan of this stuff pushing up. I wish it would push down more personally. I mean, this has nothing to do. This is all just speculation, like from this point and how I mean, it kind of all is, but this is like more so speculation and just how I view things. Where I think it's a good thing for things to get bought up today because I think they should be dropping more, especially that the dollar index hit its target. Things pushing up seems like I don't think we pushed down far enough. So if we just bring up the indices, we'll just go DXY SPY or DXY. We'll go DJI SPY. Anyway, so looking here, I mean, we do have potential all the way to go up to 48,000. But if we look at this, the potential that we could come down and still be fine on something like this, 3.58%. It shouldn't be nearly as much on the SPY. 3.58% there, 2.36% here on the SPY. So this could come down another 2.35%. This could come down another 3.5%. NASDAQ could come down. And this is and be fine, right? I'm not saying, oh, it's going to come down. I'm saying this is how much it could come down. And to me, still be fine to be picked up. And the NASDAQ could come down another 5% and still be fine. That's the way I see it. So just sell it. To me, it's like just keep selling it down. I think it's better to see this stuff get sold down. And because there's more potential room for this to come down, so we have our standard kind of correlation usually between the dollar and equities, right? Equities go up, the dollar goes down. Generally, that's usually how it is. But if they can get the dollar into that range at that 102.4, which is only 200, it's not definitely not 200 basis points. It's like what, 20 basis points, I guess, because we have pips. 200 pips or 20 basis points. I ain't 20 basis points, is it? I don't think I'm using basis points wrong. I don't know. The pips are throwing me off. Anyway, it's 200 pips up. Let's keep it simple. 200 pips up. So that's not that far. And so that's a really desirable target. In the buying here, if the buying here is not going to stop the dollar from ending and starting at 102.4 in the range, even though we did hit the target, that's just going to give us more room to come down. So that's kind of how I look at it in a sense. That's why I'd like to see stuff get sold down a little bit more. just because it makes the bounce look like it'd be that much stronger. And just add a little bit more to the dollar. So the dollar isn't essentially, I mean, right? This is like we hit the target. Yes, this makes complete sense. We hit the target, but now we have room to come up, right? So let's get this up here quick, and then let's get the market to try to push up. So we get the market to push down, so we come back up, and then let's have the market push up once we're at this 102.4 so that we can have some resistance against it. But to me, I see the setup, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I feel like I can see what they're trying to do and what they're trying to aim for. And this just makes sense. So these Mara people are annoying as hell. I guess I could have gotten at 2150, but I've seen enough stuff go by. I don't really care. So, you stick to a strategy, and I don't trade. My strategy does, right? So it's just kind of like that. So you can't have an ego if you remove yourself from it, um, in that sense. So, is there anything else? We went over what? We went over Bitcoin. We talked about Bitcoin. Essentially, we talked about the entry position if someone really wanted to YOLO in. We had to sell down. If you sold out on that, it's kind of like why. We had a chance to come back on this one on the same 12-hour. This is where you get out, or this is where you get out as it comes up. I'll tell you more times than not, if I get in something here, I don't get out right here. I get out like this. I essentially order it. I don't want to say I don't have enough to say like iceberg or whatever, but I just have orders, right? Or I guess icebergs are hidden orders, aren't they? It's more like a Bitfinex thing, but I'll just layer it, I guess, in a sense like that. I mean, it just depends what someone wants to do. It's all pretty greedy, but if you see a turnover and you see a trend that's like coming up shortly and it's not going down in the short term, there's no reason to just not, go for those extra gains or limit those losses. I don't think there's anything specific for the VIX. I haven't really checked what's going on. Same thing with the VIX. We're still fine. 13, 14 is where it is. The VIX still looks fine. Like there's nothing about this. If we're all the way back down here again, I'd be a little bit worried. But right now, I still think the VIX looks fine. I think we're still going down more, but I'm not going to trade off of that until I see where the dollar is going to end. So I might get in a position. It's tough. It's really tough for me right here because when you're right all the time, or not all the time, when you're right most of the time, like 80, 90% of the time, and then like you start seeing inconsistencies, and then like that 80, 90% becomes like 30, 40%. Well, when I see the inconsistencies, I don't trade anymore. I haven't traded ever since like was last week, I think. But like there's weird stuff going on. So my long story short is I could get puts on Mara, but Mara could still go up. Even if Bitcoin goes down, Mara could still push up. Mara is a beast of its own. So I don't know if there's any other way that I'll trade Mara unless we start a week under here and then start a week back above. I almost have to see a reversal on Mara. And I think Mara could easily come all the way back down to like 16 and then push back up. We'll have to see because this could be pretty brutal. Just like I said before, if we're looking at Bitcoin, if we imagine it might do something like what it did in August 2020, then we're really looking at coming all the way back down. And where this is essentially about 38K right now. So it's not that surprising if we did come down, but this is essentially 38K, right? And then the same thing here, right? 37,900, more or less, 37,866. Right, we see the daytime frames. Where's our daytime frame? 37,633, right? So in one day, this is going to be at the same level as the week time frame, and it's going to be coming up and should be able to help support the push up just like we did in late August of 2020. So we'll see what happens. I still think that's what's going to happen. We're looking for where the dollar is going to end because that is exactly where it starts. It's the only thing that I know that does it like that. Probably I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if other pairs did that too. I'm not sure though. But yeah, I think that's it. I guess a couple things that are worrisome. So like this is oversold for where it is, but there's a fundamental reason. So I'm not incredibly surprised. And the technicals at the same time, I could see the concern for it. I do think this is oversold. Is it going to push back up next week? It's kind of hard to see. If the dollar doesn't start in that range, it's really tough to say. Like I said before, it's really tough to say. We've hit this target. If we start here, I think it's fairly safe to be bearish on this, at least to come down, at most to like try to push up, if not continue further down. It's hard to see this just pushing up here and then, you know, into the next week just pushing up again. If we do hold and start under. Long story short, like when I'm looking at Apple, it's a little hard to tell. If I wanted to be safe with this, it's an easy 150. I don't know why this is here. Maybe it's like a daytime frame or something. I don't. Okay, it's supposed to be all the way up here. This actually isn't that bad at 168, and it goes with their price target. We'll have to see what happens. I prefer 155. I don't know if we're going to be coming down that low. I don't want to go into this too much. I think there's too many variables at this point in time that we're going to have to see how they play out. We still have a decent percentage that we can come back down. 2 points, I think it's 2.5 on the SPY or 2.75. I think it's like 3.6 on the Dow and 5.5 more or less on the NASDAQ. We could still come down. So from where the good buy points were. So I don't want to get into too much and kind of ramble on and think about things that are too far off into the future. I mainly do it just so I kind of get my ideas out there so people know how I think and how I look at stuff. And I think it's somewhat interesting. But sometimes it can be too convoluted. I really do that because I'm not always streaming, not always there. It's just to kind of give an idea so that people can think about it, look at it through my eyes. At the end of the day, I don't care. I really care what like the dollar is going to be, and it's hard for me to mess with anything until we see where this dollar starts. And I'll say one last time, we'll end it on the dollar. And I guess we might make no, we'll keep it on Bitcoin, but this is going to be private anyway, just because I'm just going to update another idea that I already have. But that possible one again can lead to a possible two, so we'll see what happens. But this is what is concerning, not anything that it's doing here. This. So we get locked into here. This is the first level. We got to break up. And this is like SOS. This is definitely like get puts or sell. That's what I'm doing anyway. Or not selling, but get puts. And we'll see what happens. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I hope you guys are doing well. So I think that's pretty much it. Take care, y'all. We'll see what happens. I don't think it looks good, but I don't know how much anything matters. But I'm waiting for around 38K. I'd like to see Mara come under and then come back above. And I hope these people lose all their money. I hope these are people on calls losing money. I just hope they lose money because why are you doing this? You know, and the last thing I'll show is look at Riot. Like, look at Riot. Like, so Mara is pretty much like here. Look at Riot. It's completely different. So I don't know why everyone's getting all giddy about Mara and what's going on. I love it, but not anymore. And so they pretty much ruined it. Anyway, hopefully they keep getting sold down on, and I hope we start the week under 2150 next week. So that'd be preferable. Anyway, take care, y'all. And yeah, if you're in the north, good luck with the snow. Peace.